Hazelburn 10, the other Springbank. Is it worth your time? We're to find out today. I'm Jeff. This is G Whiskey. Stick around. All right, we're looking at Hazelburn 10 today. Hazelburn, as I'm sure a lot of you already know, is out of the Springbank distillery. It's the lighter, brighter Springbank, and it's lighter and brighter because this one is unpeated and triple distilled. If you want a bolder and more rugged spirit, you distill it fewer times, usually twice. But if you don't want it so hard and powerful, you want to soften it up a little bit, you can think about baseball, or you can distill it for a third time. The standard Springbank is distilled 2.5 times, the heavily peated Longrow is distilled twice, and we have our Hazelburn with 3 distillations, so it is easily the most gentle Springbank on the market. And because a lot of the appeal of Springbank is that it does have that more rugged side, I always feel like Hazelburn is the underloved Springbank, the middle child. It's the Springbank that probably needs the most hugs. Because Springbank gets all the flowers, it gets all the hugs. Longrow doing just fine, and then we have Hazelburn, which is just the triple distilled sheep of the family. And triple distilled sheep, obviously a very unpopular format of sheep. Bit of a hot take here, but I don't even think we should be distilling sheep at all. Point is, I've always liked it. I have a soft spot for Hazelburn. I always like delicate, gentle whiskeys that are well executed. And since pretty much everything out of the Springbank distillery is going to be well executed, I think Hazelburn is actually quite special. Our casks here are all ex-bourbon, which is what a lot of the purists look for. Obviously, it's 10 years old. As I said, triple distilled, unpeated, and I think that's most of the technical stuff. And while triple distilled whiskeys themselves aren't things that I usually seek out, they can and often do work very well. And all the rest of that nerdy technical stuff is music to my ears. As far as my history with this bottle goes, I don't actually remember the first time I had it, but it would have been at least, let's say, 15 years ago now. And right from the start, right from the beginning, I actually preferred Hazelburn to Springbank. And actually, I would say that's still true. I wouldn't necessarily rank Springbank higher than Hazelburn. It really is a different whiskey, and it would depend on my mood. But yeah, I've traditionally done very well with this one, and odds are it's going to work out pretty well today, but you never know, so let's find out. Let's jump into our review. In the meantime, if you'll kindly leave a like down below, that'd be greatly appreciated. For our specs, this comes in at 46%, and like everything out of Springbank, it's going to be non-chill filtered and natural color. I think the look of this bottle is fine. Springbank is usually not very preoccupied with things like marketing or packaging. They let the whiskey sell itself, which is most certainly how it should be. But I've never loved their packaging. That said, this one is particularly shiny, and I am attracted to shiny things. We'll give it 2.5 out of 5. On the nose, this is bright, clean, and fresh. It goes very tropical. We get lots of fruity notes like banana, apricot, starfruit, and even a touch of coconut. We get flaky, buttery apple pastries, apple strudels. We get lemon tarts. We get icing sugar, loads of vanilla. There's ginger lozenges in here. There's some citrus zest, and there's whipped cream. Really nice. Palate and finish is nice. We start with a pretty mouth-coating texture that leans sweet and slightly spicy up front. When I say sweet, think banana cream pie coated with icing sugar, and when I say spicy, I don't mean like peppery heat. It's more like gingery, like ginger lozenges. We get banana, vanilla, papaya, starfruit, coconut, salted butter. There's also plenty of pineapple, there's lemon tarts. This interestingly has quite a nice weight behind it. All right, so this is really, really nice. It's a fantastic whiskey, and it's really unique. And I don't just mean this is unique for a Springbank. This is unique just in general in the world of whiskey. Because there's a few things happening with this one. First, it leans very Campbeltown because it does have a side of it that's very farmy and malty with some coastal elements. There's also a really nice weight to this, which I might almost associate with something like a Craigellachie 13, which, by the way, is one of my all-time favorite affordable whiskeys. Craigellachie 13, Craigellachie in general, famous for using worm tubs. Springbank also uses worm tubs. Worm tubs, by the way, if you don't know, it's a type of copper condenser. It's an old school style of distilling. Only a handful of distilleries use them. Springbank is among them. And like I said, they tend to add a certain weight to the whiskey, which is coming through in our Hazelburn here. Did I just say distilling? I think I did. I'm not reshooting that. Anyway, on one hand, we have that Springbank, Campbelltowny, funky, farmy, weighty, worm tub Craigellachie, intense side to this whiskey. And then on the other side, we have these very clean, bright, and fruity tropical sets of flavors. There's some buttery, salty notes in here that I might liken to, let's say, an Old Pulteney. There's some bright, fruity notes in here that could go in the direction of, let's say, a Glen Grant. So, an interesting mix. So this might require a bit of imagination from you, but if you could imagine Craigellachie, Springbank, Old Pulteney, and Glen Grant having a love child, it might go somewhat in this direction. All of those are great distilleries, but also I should stress that this is very much its own thing. Now, I think for most people, they want this compared to the Springbank 10, and of course I will do that, but I'm not going to say one is better than the other because I think they are very different, and I think they're completely equal in quality, and personally, I'll reach for them not because I prefer one or the other, but because I think the mood fits more for this one or that one. So in summer, it does make more sense. I reach more for this one because all the fruits in this go hard, man. We get that banana, the lemon, the ginger, the coconut. They're all very good. So it is really interesting to have a kind of whiskey like this where we have that funky ruggedness over here and we have that tropical fruity brightness over here. You would think that they would pull in completely different directions, that they would contrast each other, but actually it's very harmonious. This is a very balanced whiskey, and that is not easy to pull off. So this is easily up there with some of the best entry-level stuff coming out of Campbeltown these days. I would rank it easily as high as stuff like Springbank 10 or Kilkerran 12. I actually prefer this to the long grow, and I really like the long grow. So yeah, fantastic stuff. And what's nice is that it is doing something different. It suits a different mood. So as long as you're not expecting this to behave like a typical Springbank, I do think this has really broad appeal. I think a lot of people would be able to get behind this whiskey. I can't imagine a scenario where a lot of people prefer the Springbank, but I don't. And honestly, it's even a little bit unfair because anytime you talk about Hazelburn, it has to be put up against its much more popular siblings. You need that Springbank comparison, but if you disregard all that, if you just look at this as its own whiskey, absolute stunner, 89 points. Now, before we talk about value, I do want to quickly thank all my patrons, all my channel members. Guys, thank you very much for all the help. And if you want to help out, I'll put Patreon and PayPal linked down below. This whole channel is a one-man show. I script, obviously shoot, and edit. It's all me, so any contribution, any little bit of help, greatly appreciated. Now let's see about value for this one, and this is kind of an interesting topic. How do you gauge the value of a Springbank? Because who's paying what in what market? Where can you find it? Are you paying secondary prices? I don't know what the standard is for these. What is nice is that slowly but surely, Springbank products are becoming more available. They're less unicorny nowadays, but still tough to find, even here. When I did manage to find this bottle here, which is very rare, I paid just over 80 US, just over 60 pounds. It used to be around 65 US, so it has gone up in price, but we only have one importer, so I didn't have much choice. Am I happy to pay that price? Happy is definitely the wrong word, no, but would I pay that price again if I ran out of Hazelburn 10? Yeah, I would. All right, that brings us to the end of today's video. Guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and this is where I send some questions out to you guys. Have you tried the Hazelburn 10? What were your thoughts? How would you compare it to Springbank or Longgrow or any of its siblings? And what did you pay for it? So many questions. You can put all of that down below in the comments section. Also in the comments, you can let me know what you want to see me review down the line, and I will keep those ideas and suggestions for any upcoming videos. See you next time.